Well, it's almost time to head to the polls. We'll do that on Monday if you haven't voted already. And candidates have now just a few days left to make their case to voters. And so far, it's been pretty tough road with some demonstrations of campaign stops, some racist and misogynist insults hurled, even someone throwing gravel at Justin Trudeau. Well, Fareed Khan has been following the campaign closely. He's the founder of Canadians United Against Hate, and he's with us this morning. Good morning to you, Fareed.
Good morning.
In terms of the tone and the rhetoric, what has concerned you as you've been watching this election campaign unfold?
Well, I think in terms of the tone, it's the same thing a lot of people are commenting on, and that is these anti-Trudeau, anti-Liberal, anti-government protests where you've got people who are hurling obscenities and racist insults and misogynistic insults at the Prime Minister. And this sense among a small minority of the population of rage that we're seeing that we've never seen in Canadian elections before. And, is that something that's going to die off after the election is over, or is it something that is going to become part of our politics the way it has in the U.S.?
And where do you think it came from? Do you think it just bled over from the U.S.?
Well, I think the things that happen in the U.S. Politically eventually find their way north of the border. So there's a little bit of that. But I think that a big part of it is the fact that for almost a year and a half, we were in one sort of restriction or another because of COVID. People were locked in their homes pretty much across the country. And a lot of these people were consuming things on the internet that were likely disturbing and, not something that the average person would gravitate towards. And this has given them fire and energy, and there's a sense of frustration out there. And this frustration within that population is being expressed in this very unpleasant way during this election.
You compare the People Parties of Canada leader to former U.S. President Donald Trump. You say Maxime Bernier is like Trump. What are the parallels in your opinion?
Well, I think the parallels is that he's anti-science, he's anti-immigrant, he's anti-refugee. He has refused to get vaccinated. He is supporting those voices out there of people who don't want to get vaccinated during the fourth wave. He has embraced white supremacists within his midst. Some of them have shown up at these anti-Trudeau rallies, holding People's Party of Canada signs. And it's a very dangerous trend, I think, because in 2019, when the votes were eventually counted, People's Party of Canada received about 1.7% of the vote.
Right.
They're now at 6.4%, and it's doubled. They've almost doubled what the support was they were polling at the start of the election. That's more, far more than what the Green Party is receiving, for example. And the Green Party has been around for 20 years. So what does that say about where our politics in this country is heading?
Why do you think people are attracted to the PPC?
Well, there's an element, obviously, of far-right ideologues, people who believe in far-right ideology. They may have supported the Conservatives previously, but now they think the Conservatives are being too moderate and too sensible, so they've shifted their support to the PPC. In addition, when he goes out on the stump and he's speaking at rallies, he channels that anger that there's a segment of voters that are feeling. He's channeling that anger. People see that and think, yeah, this is the guy I want, because he is basically giving the middle finger to the political establishment.
The NDP announced that two of its candidates have dropped out of the federal election race because of, anti-Semitic comments and on social media. The Conservatives have dropped a candidate in a Toronto riding after Islamophobic tweets surfaced. Do you think there is a greater push for accountability from the parties in this election cycle?
To a certain extent, but not entirely. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the ridings where these candidates were running, and look at what their chances were in terms of whether they were going to win or not, the likelihood is that they were very unlikely to win. So removing them as candidates is symbolic. There was another candidate, and I can't remember where, for the Conservatives, who similarly made inappropriate remarks. Either I can't remember if it was online or in person, but he issued an apology and he was allowed to stand, and the reason was that he actually has a chance of winning in that riding. So really, I think it comes down to where are these candidates running and what their chances are of winning. Whether they stay as candidates or whether they're removed.
Another issue that has been raised during the election campaign that connects to issues of inclusion has been around Quebec's Bill 21, which prohibits any sort of visible religious symbols in public sector jobs. Are you disappointed to see the response? This, of course, was brought up in the debate in a very blunt way by the moderator. Are you disappointed to see the response or lack of response from party leaders on this?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, Bill 21 was an issue in the 2019 election, and it's become an issue again. And the fact is, on its face, it is racist and bigoted legislation targeting certain racialized religious minorities in Quebec. And the fact that none of the parties, neither Mr. O'Toole or Mr. Singh, said they would do anything, and Mr. Trudeau, while he said he would do something in the 2019 election about it, he has done nothing. So as far as I'm concerned, all three of the Federalist Party leaders are all guilty of basically putting this on the back burner when there are lives being affected in Quebec. And I think that one of the things that all Canadians have to think about in this election when it comes to Quebec is that this sense of Quebec exceptionalism. Why do they get such special treatment? And actually, I live in Quebec. I live just across the border from Ottawa, so I speak as a Quebecer. Why does Quebec get such special treatment on issues like this when it would not be accepted in other parts of the country? And I think we have to have politicians who actually stand up for human rights and against racist legislation like this.
Again, I mean, the Bloc leader would tell you this isn't racist legislation. This is upholding Quebec's tradition of secularism in the public workplace.
Well, yes, and I've watched Mr. Blanchette's statements very closely over this election, especially since after the English language debate, and he said this was an expression of Quebec values. Well, you know what? If your society's values say that you target certain minorities, you deny them jobs in a certain sector, and you basically force what I call radical atheism on them, then I think you need to rethink what those values are, because what this legislation does is violate certain fundamental aspects of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which Canada co-authored just after World War II. So I think we have to look at it in that respect, and we have to ask the question: is this a country? Is Quebec a province, and is Canada a country where human rights are defended and protected? And if they're not, then why? And why are these politicians not defending human rights, which all of them have talked about in their party platforms?
Fareed, good to hear you this morning. Thank you for taking the time with us.
No, thank you for having me.
Take care. Fareed Khan, the founder of Canadians United Against Hate, he joined us from, Quebec. And you can call Talkback 604-662-6690.